Hey everyone, thank you for being here today. I am Sanjana Putchala and I'm a data analytics expert. And I have been working with data for over a decade now. And what I do in my everyday is I build data products. I work with businesses to figure out what their data is for and wrangle their data. And I also work with cross-functional teams. And when I'm not doing that, I love to watch Netflix. I love to do some home improvement DIY projects, and I also love to cook. And that's where you'll find me when I'm not coding or building dashboards. And I want to kick this off by asking you guys a few questions. How many of you all worked with Python or any kind of code? Whoa, okay. How many of you all worked with Power BI or any visualization tools? Okay. And how many of you all inherited code or a dashboard from somebody and you don't have any documentation or any idea about it? Amazing. Yes. Everybody raise their hand. And we've all been there. And let's say we inherit a dashboard. Let's talk about Power BI here. And when you start exploring it, you open a few tabs, you click on a few visuals, you have a selection pane, you're clicking like 12 clicks to get to one action. And you have so many more to go. You have like, let's say, 50 bookmarks, several pages. And I just kept talking about this, and this is me clicking around to find something. And this video is working 2x speed, and it's still going. So look how long it took. And as data professionals, we spend a lot of time working with elegant solutions and building this for the business. But what do we do for ourselves? That's where I want to bring in the automation mindset. We need to think about how do we make this workflow better for us. So we don't accept our fate. We don't spend time clicking. So let's change that today. And to change that today, let's talk about a problem that I faced, which is, oh, sorry. I got handed over a dashboard a while ago, and they asked me to edit the bookmarks, change a visual, and create documentation for it. And if you did work with a visualization tool, you do know how hard it is to document anything from there and be perfect about it. So to do that, I leveraged the Power BI project files, which is the PBIP format that Microsoft released recently. What this does is when you save your Power BI file in this format, it creates code and it saves it into different folders. And this is what the folders look like inside, and I'll show it to you later. And just like that, you have access to the DNA of all of your dashboard and what it did and its inner workings. So now, let's see how the JSON files look like. We did think that now I have the code, so everything should be fine, right? But then you end up in this situation where you have to go through each file and then read through it and then figure out what it's doing. And this is like really taxing for one person to go through because we are very excited when we build the dashboards usually. So we end up having a lot of visuals, a lot of pages, a lot of bookmarks. So going through this is something that takes a lot of time. So what can we do about this? We can write code to decode this problem. So that's where I'm going to show you guys how I used Python to create a code, which is called a PBIP reader, which I named it. And it goes in and reads all of the stuff that we just saw. So it reads your report files, and it reads your semantic model, and then it brings you the items that we're going to talk about, which are here. It reads this folder and flattens it and gives you an Excel sheet. And that's where we can leverage that data to figure out what's going on. And to do this, I'm going to use Power BI files and JavaScript and Python. And I know I did not mention JavaScript, but that's a piece of puzzle that I'm going to show you when I'm doing the demo. So we're going to do the demo now. Going into the files, I am going to start by saving the Power BI file. So we're going to open it. And this is your report. Let's say we have 2 pages here, just for an example, nothing complicated. We have our first page, and we have a hidden page, which has some filters, some navigation buttons, and all of the fun stuff. So now, what you can do is when you're saving this file, you're going to save as, and then you're going to see an option that says PBIT and PBIP. And for this example, we're going to use the PBIP. And I'm not going to save it right now because we have a saved file. Let's go look at the folder now. I'm going to navigate to the folder. So once you save your PBIX file as a PBIP file, it's going to create these folders, which has a report name, .report, and your report name, .the semantic model. And let me go into these folders to just navigate and show you all what's going on here. You have the PBI, the definition. The definition is what we are going to focus on. And you have your bookmarks here. Then you have a file per bookmark. And when you go back here, your pages, each pages has a folder for the page name, and then for the visuals, and then each visual has another folder. So these are all like insanely nested. So now let's go into the Visual Studio Code to navigate through these a little better so I can show you what the JSON file looks like. And this is where we are. We have the bookmarks. This is how your JSON file looks like. It says the name, and then you have more details about it. And your properties, you have the entity. So all of these are written in here. And let's do the pages. You have pages here, the visuals, all of that fun stuff. So what we're trying to do here is identify first what you need from your JSON file. Like, let's go back into the presentation real quick so I can show you guys what we're trying to do. So that part. So we're trying to identify the attributes that we need from each file. So we have an ID everywhere, we have a name, and we have filters, et cetera, et cetera. And you will notice that there is something here that I highlighted, which is not in these 2 parts of the PBIP files. So where do we get it from? And this is where I want to fill the gap where I said we're going to use JavaScript. We are going to go to this place called Power BI Playground now, which is a developer sandbox for Power BI developers, which has been developed by Microsoft, of course. So let's go from the top. We're going to the sandbox. We're going to select a report. And then we're going to select on projects. And this is where my report is housed. So that's where I went. I hit embed. You're going to see the report populate over here. So that's my report. So what I'm going to do now is I need to get details about my visuals. So to get the details, I'm going to go to first find out what my page IDs are, because we have page IDs on the PBIP files, but we don't know what the visual names are. So we start from get pages. And this interface is so amazing because you can just drag this and drop it here, and it creates code. You don't have to write anything. And then the output is going to drop into this console. Oh my God. I can't read all of a sudden. Yeah. Now I can read. We're back. So we are going to look at the console. I'm going to clear the console first so we don't have any weird things showing up. And we just have to run this code. And it's going to return the page IDs for me. So I have 2 page IDs showing up. So what do I do with this? I need to now figure out what my visuals are that are associated to that page. So I am going to get the visuals. I can drop this in here, but it only lets me get 1 page at a time. And we're talking about being very efficient here. So I wrote code for that, so we don't have to get 1 thing at a time. So we're going into my GitHub. We're going to get this code, copy it, and we're going back into Playground. We're going to put it right here, and we're going to insert the page IDs. Copy pasting should take less time, right? But no. Okay. Now I'm going to clear out my console again and run this. And now you will see the visuals show up in here. Let's make this bigger. So for context, let's look at this page. It has something that says workouts button, intensity minutes, sleep score, heart rate zones, and workouts. So let's go to our dashboard. Let's open the selection pane. So that's what they are. And we have them here. So because I don't want to copy paste again, I'm just going to save. And it saves as a log file. And I have that already over here, so I'm not going to do it again. Let's go open the report and see. Okay, we need to save it again because it doesn't show up. So we go here, save as. Then we go fitness report. Over here, I do see it. Let's save it. There we go. I was in the wrong folder, totally my bad. Yeah, especially when we're demoing. No worries. So now we have all of the missing pieces. Now let's go back to the presentation so we can see what our goal is. We're trying to find the missing pieces that are in our bookmark IDs, and then our page IDs, and then our mystery logs that we just found out. So we have a PBIP reader, which is our Python code, which is going to now go into the PBIP files, read that, and it goes into the log files, reads that, and it puts everything together and creates an Excel file, which is a flattened version of all of the code that we just saw. So I'm not going to write the code now because I wrote it already, so it's easier for us to go in and look for. So we're going into my GitHub, and we are going to copy this code and bring it over to our file here. And all you have to do is point your folders. Still going. There we go. So we're going to point them to our bookmarks folder, our pages folder, and our log. And if you want to change your output name of your XLSX file, you can do that. Or we can just go ahead and run code. So if you look at this here, the bottom, it says running. And now what it did is it went and read everything, it retrieved the rows, and then it added some names and titles that I asked it to do, and then it extracted the file into this location, or this is the file name that it extracted. So now let's go and look at the file, which is over here. There we go. So all of that JSON that you guys saw is now condensed into 3 tabs, which has all of the information that you need. So now let's look at the pages. You have an ID, a name, a visual ID, and you have the type of the visual, and you also see something called an action type. So if you guys worked on Power BI before, you will know that there are some action buttons that we can add into our reports, like this one here. So this little thing is an action button to which you can tie a bookmark or a navigation action or something else you want it to do. So what it does is, if we open it up here, it says it takes you to a bookmark that's called workout details. So that's what you have on your Excel file. It says this is a bookmark, and this is the bookmark name, and takes you there. And let's go to the bookmarks. And if you all ever set up a bookmark, you know how extreme they can be, because you can never figure out, once you set it up, you cannot know in any way, shape, or form how you set it up. For example, let's do another demo. I have a bookmark over here. Let me close all of these. Cool. So when you went back, sorry, let's go back into this page. So you click on a button, its action is to take you to a bookmarked view of a page. So now you see the date says a date, it's all pre-selected, and every time you click the button, it's going to come here. For example, I built this report, and I didn't want to deal with this report anymore, so I just gave it to somebody. They inherited it from me. And somebody from the business came and asked them, I don't want to see this bookmark anymore. Can you change it to a different workout? Because I'm tired of this one. So the person after me has no way to know, because let's open our bookmarks. You can see this. all I can see is these are the items that are on the page, and this is a bookmark. And apparently, some visuals were selected before somebody created this bookmark. And I have no idea what those selections are. But not anymore, we know it now. So let's go here. Let's look for workout details. So these are workout details. Now you see these little guys over here that say yes under selected visual, which means those are the visuals that have been selected before somebody made a bookmark. And then they selected the slicer selections that are this date and this workout. So I exactly know what's going on. I don't have to guess anymore. And I can change the bookmark. And that's the best part of this, right? You don't have to guess anymore, and you don't have to update the documentation anymore. So we eliminated like 2 pieces of the problem that we had before. And with that, actually, I conclude this presentation. And if you guys have any questions, let me know. And if you want to connect with me, let me put up a QR code, if I can find it. And this approach has actually saved me countless hours. And I had to finally figure out how to not think like a user and think like an engineer and re-engineer this report for myself so I can save so much time and effort that I'm putting into unnecessary clicks. So I hope it helps you guys too. Questions?
This is really cool. I've been learning about the MCP server technology, but I've never really used it before.
Mm-hmm.
And I was curious, like, is that a different avenue that you could achieve this result with, in the sense that it's like a large language model that connects to the MCP server that you can kind of manipulate your data model?
That is kind of a different way, a different path, which would take you probably a little longer to get to the answer, because here we're using the file as is, and we're filling in the missing information, and we know exactly where to find these. But when you go through an MCP route, you're going to have to give it more context, which means you're going to have to spend more time reading those JSON files and figuring out what to ask it to give that to you. So it would give you an answer, but the answer would be like, yes, this is the one line that you asked me, not the complete picture.
So I have a question. So it's kind of interesting seeing the Microsoft structure behind Power BI, right? So I guess every element, everything seems to have either its own JSON file or it's part of the JSON file. So you were using Python to read those.
Yes.
Can you use Python to update them? Or do they provide an API so that it would be updated properly?
You can do both. Actually, Power BI now has Git integration. You can open it up, and there's also something called TMDL that came up. So you can use Python to edit your JSON files and save them back into those folders. Then your Power BI dashboard will be updated.
Seems like you guys,
It's limitless, guys.
If you break down the JSON files, I mean, that's your whole...
That's why we have the Git integration now. You can roll it back into the previous version, and it should all be okay.
Yeah. Famous last words.
Control Z, people, Control Z.
So do you envision a way of getting past the need to use the playground to get the visual ID? Is there, maybe, can you translate all of your Python to JavaScript and get entire layout that way? Or
I think probably, this is what I think about Power BI. I've been working with it since they started Power BI 10 years ago. So it has been evolving, and people like me have been finding missing items that they didn't have before, and they have been filling the gaps. So I'm envisioning maybe the JSON files will have that information moving forward at some point, but they don't have it now. Because it's somewhere in their environment, because we found it on Playground, and Playground is part of Microsoft. So if it's in the service, it should be on the JSON file. It's just not there yet. Any more questions? Is it working? Okay. Thank you. Awesome. Over to you.
You'll see my spirit animal along with a bunch of QR code stuff. So you can scan this. It'll take you to the Jupyter notebook that I use for creating this. It's trying to make it as interactive as possible. But the main thing I'm going to get into is just Python, data, and how to use Pandas. And since I operate in the e-commerce realm, just showing you how to utilize some of that data to get after certain business cases. So if you didn't scan it, I will be putting it on Discord as well. In all the Discord channels, I'll blast it so that you can pull it there. But let me go move this one. Okay, so with this, like I stated before, we'll be using this to go over specific business questions associated with e-commerce. One of the main things that Pandas is good for is that it's an open source platform for doing as an analytical tool. So it's very powerful, very fast, and you can use it to throw any type of data at it. Another thing we'll be using in here, Python, one of the greatest languages ever made. And then also I'll be using NumPy and MATLAB, because those help as well with putting together whatever it is that you're doing. So some of the questions that we're going to go over is, what are the top products and categories by revenue and margin? So these are some of the things that you'll see normally that businesses typically deal with when they're pulling data. Some of the other ones, do discounts help mainly compress margins? And then also, I'll probably go through 3 of them during this. And if you want to see the other 2, you can pull the repo. And then the final one, which channels produce higher quality customers? And all that is just looking at your different sales channels and trying to figure out, okay, which one is actually bringing people in and which one is just meta ads taking all my money. Okay, so this is a Jupyter notebook. If you've ever used them, you just put the code in there and then you just go. You're just rolling with it. It's there to hold your hand. So for the most part, some of the things that we're going to do in this first one is just import Pandas, NumPy, Matplot, and anything else that we need. One of the first things when pulling data right here, I created just some synthetic data. This isn't real stuff because I'd get in trouble if I did. So we have a bunch of fake data that you would see normally pulled from somebody who's doing e-commerce, more so in the apparel industry. One of the main things that you'll see right here, if I run this, it's not going to do much. It'll just show a check mark at the bottom of this, and then it'll spit out all this stuff. But the main thing that we're doing right here is that Panda gives you this data framework to where you can build all this stuff out so you can start manipulating and working with that data. So that's one of the main things that's going on here. I'd say at the top part of it, I'm just putting a range to spit out that data. And then right here for products, the main thing is just putting specific products in there that I've pulled and then creating channels and everything else. So it's just piecing together what you would see when you pull that data. Okay, and then right here, once we ran it, this is what we came back with. We came with the SKUs, the name, the category, and materials. SKUs, for those who don't know it, that's just stock keeping units. So think of it as something that can identify a product, like this jacket, a black jacket that's a size medium, large, however I feel that day. But and then all the other stuff that you would pull from that report. So this is what Pandas will give you. But one of the other things that you would do when you get that data, you don't want to sit there and go raw dogging it and just throwing it out there and be like, yeah, we got this. Let's just run it and go. We're going to make money off of this. Step one, profits, nothing else. But for the most part, you need to make sure that you inspect your data and you clean anything that's on there. And when you're cleaning your data, there's always going to be like business rules or things that are attached to that. So you're not just sitting there saying, if there's a blank line or if there's something missing, I'm just deleting it out. Make sure that you look at your rules and figure out what it is that you're doing. So with this one, all I'm doing is just having it produce the info, which will give me a detailed understanding of what's going on. And then I'm going to have it, if there's is NA, or if there are any products that have is NA or are not applicable, it's gonna come back with a 1 or 2, or however many of them there are. Since this is all synthetic data, it won't show any fake ones. But if you're working with, I use Shopify and Odoo a lot, and I know Shopify, they like to have one line item that's where it'll have the ID. It'll have blanks under it because that person may have purchased multiple products. So they don't put the rest of the ID at the bottom. They just leave it blank and put more products off to the side. So that's what this would be able to determine, and then let you know if there are any NAs, nulls, or just data that's missing. But like I stated, we have data filling in every block, so we have all zeros. So with that being done, not every data cleansing is this quick, simple, and fun. Most of the time, you're sitting there for a while, scanning through a lot of stuff to make sure that your data is clean.
What kind of percentage time do you usually spend on the data? Be honest.
I don't know how much of my life. After crying and sitting there staring at the computer screen, I'd say about a good, I don't know, it just depends on the size, because I'd say 3 hours. It's very depressing, depending on what type of data you're dealing with. I don't know if there's people out there who love it. Yes, that's all I do in life. Yeah, I'm pulling small data sets. I'm not trying to pull anything huge. I had somebody ask me to pull 3 years worth of purchases. I was like, why? What do you need this for? Don't say that to anybody. Just be like, oh wow, that's cool. And what are we using this for? Try to like guide them in a direction to where you get a more succinct amount of data to answer their question. But theirs was just wanting to see customer behavior. I was like, we can just pull a small sample from this year. It's more effective than looking at something 5 years ago. But next, we're gonna join the table. So this is pretty much bringing all that data together. We're still not showing this to people. We're looking at it. So one of the main things I always tell people when it comes to data, though this may look fun and interesting to you, when you go to those meetings, it's going over a lot of people's heads. So you need to make sure that you clean it, you package it, you make it look like somebody can look at it and they can see, I understand your story. I understand what you're telling me. It's touching me right here in the heart. You won't get that in the meeting, but yeah. But for the most part, what we're doing right here is we're doing another data frame, and we're having the order items. We're merging our SKUs, and that's coming from our products and our orders, and we're merging those into one. And then right here, data frame.head, that's just a method for just bringing the top 5, so 0 through 4. So I'm not going to produce everything. I'm just going to take those first 5. Those are default in Pandas, so that you can see what it is that's going on. But in here, this is what Pandas will give you back once you run that command. So it's giving you everything that you had up at top when we created that synthetic data. Okay, so next, create derived metrics. So with this, we compute net price, revenue, costs, anything that it is that y'all looking for your metrics. And that's based off what other company you're working for and whatever their KPIs and stuff that's driving this. So with this one, we've created multiple ones. We're looking for the net price. We're looking for the price, the discounts and stuff. Because once again, based on those business questions, we'll determine what type of data we're pulling. Because you don't want to just pull everything and sit there and be cleaning data for something that you're probably not even going to use.
So that's adding columns to the data frame, right?
Yes. And when I press this cool little button, it does this. So right here, once we produced all that, so we created our metrics, and it's still giving us it's giving us the stuff that we need so that we can start utilizing it in those questions. Because right now I'm trying to prep the data so that we can utilize it for answering those questions. So main things we're pulling and the main things that we're looking for, once again, that revenue, more so how much money you have after the cost of those price of those items that you sold. And then we're also looking for the gross margins, trying to figure out what that margin is that was utilized for that line item, because we're going by each line item at this point. And then we're looking for that net revenue as well after returns. So going down here, now that we got what we need, we're going to start answering question 1. And utilizing Pandas for this, all we're doing is trying to figure out what our top products are and the categories by revenue and margin. So we're just trying to figure out what are the awesome products we are creating that people are buying, because it may drive other things that we do, like, hey, maybe we need to go down this lane and purchase more t-shirts because people like wearing t-shirts. Or it could be something that everybody's cool and they're wearing super baggy pants like bell bottoms again, and it's coming back in style. So once you run this one, it'll pretty much put everything in a nice little neat format. You have your categories showing that your quarter zips are the main ones that are selling real well based on that revenue and margin. And then next, hoodies, shorts, and then tees. So the main thing that we're doing here is, once again, we're creating our variable top products, and then we're putting in a data frame for group by. All that group by is doing is it's just summarizing those products or those line items into one group. So think of it like kind of like aggregating measures into one area. And then with this, we're aggregating those ones that are put together. We're summing up their revenue, their gross margin, and their quantity to where you have this right here. So all our quarter zips are showing what the revenue is, the margins, and the units for them specifically. So this right here is what you would use to figure out, okay, which products are serving the best. And then this may drive discussion like, hey, maybe our quarter zips are selling well because it's springtime. People aren't wearing jackets anymore. They just need something that's light and easy to go with. Next, we're doing the same thing, except for this time we're running categories. This will give us, this will zoom out of that lens a bit to where we're not looking at the products. We're more so looking at the categories for sales. Because one thing you'll notice, depending on how you interpret that data, will determine how people make their decisions. Because you can be looking at the one at the top, and you can be like, wow, t-shirts suck right now. They're not really selling because they're at the bottom. But when you actually look at the categories, it'll tell a whole different story. So that's another thing with data, is if you're depending on how you prepare it and how you push it out will determine what people see. So with this one, with categories, you'll see that the t-shirts are actually selling better. The main difference, if you look up here, is that the top selling products in the top 10, you have 3 t-shirts that are in there, but they're just not at the top. But when you come down here, you see that your main items that you're selling at your store are t-shirts. They're like in the 2,000 units sold compared to everything else. The next one's coming at 600. So don't be that person that shows up, you see these numbers and you think you need to go buy a bunch of quarter zips and start selling them to everybody. Look at all the data, try to conceptualize it and determine what it is you need to do. So once again, same thing like we did in the previous one, we're doing here as well to get the categories. And then right here, this is where you can use that matplot to create your charts. So it pulls out this beautiful, stunning beast right here to where you can just look at this and automatically know. Most people operate off of pictures, so they want to see this. It helps with the visualization and driving home what it is that you're doing. But once again, like I said, t-shirts, it's the biggest one that's selling. And once again, adding other data in there, like the time of the year, what's actually going on, will help bring it full circle about, hey, this is why this product is selling the most. Okay, so moving on to question 2. discount effectiveness. So one thing people like to do is put things on sale so that other people can buy it. One of the things I've learned in e-commerce is that you do not want to be on sale all the time, because then your product becomes cheap and you cheapen the brand. At that point, you're just Michael's, where everybody only comes there if you got a sale going on or if they can get a discount. So with this one, I took a different approach. This one we did nested. We did a nested approach. Okay, so I saved it in there. With this one, this is more so buckets. So to show how the percentages worked and how you can see the performance of different cells and methods used, I put everything in buckets from 0, 1 to 10, 11 to 20, because it's broken down enough to where the people at the meeting, depending on who's there, can see, okay, this is the best way that we should approach when we do our next sale or a campaign out there for putting discounts. So running this, it'll pretty much break it down to this point where you can see the performance of revenue for 0% all the way to 45%. And one of the main things that'll stand out in this is that you see the 1 to 20% are the main ones that are performing well when it comes to discounts. And the main thing that was done here, once again, we're starting off with a negative 0.001 because we want to make sure that we get that definite 0 and not miss anything on the with any outliers. So that's the reason why I do a negative 0.001 when I'm running this type of scenario. And then once again, we're running Pandas here to just cut the discount percentages so that it can put them in the right categories that we need them. And then down here, the same thing I've been doing a lot, just the group by. We're grouping them by their discount buckets, which are right here. We're making sure that the index is false because we don't want them put into their indexes because it'll break it down and make it look wonky. And then we're aggregating everything again so that we can sum up each of those columns. At the end, we're sorting values. All it is just putting these in order, and then we're pushing this out. So that's how we get this. And then once again, if we want to run it to see what it looks like in a chart, you'll get somewhat of a natural bell curve of showing what it is. Customers tend to not purchase things when they see things at 45% off. I'm pretty sure if somebody comes to you and say, I got a sweet car, I'll give it 90% off. You're asking questions quick. Whose is it and who did you steal it from? So I found out that anybody from 1 to 20%, they're like, that sounds about right. Especially when it comes to doing marketing. If you're giving up your email for like a 20% off, people are like, okay, that's kind of relatable, or 10% off. The moment you tell them like 70%, they're like, you're probably stealing something. So just gee whiz for marketing. Okay, so next, the final one I'll go over is our channel quality. This is used a lot for determining where you should put that money at, because you may be an omni-channel type of shop where you have multiple areas that you have coming into your store. Some of them could be coming from social media. Some of them could be coming from like your email marketing, SMS, or whatever else you got out there, or your organic searches. So with this one, this is more so to say, hey, our people who are returning customers, where are they mainly coming from? And is this the place we should focus most of our funding on when it comes to marketing? So with this, when you run this, pretty much it'll once again give you that chart, and it'll tell you specifically what's going on. So email, you see it's the strongest one. This one has repeat customers being at the 50th percentile when it comes to that. The other thing that's associated with this is that you have that repeat rate right here that's showing on the sides. So with this one was a nested aggregation. So I took one aggregate and then I threw another one inside of it, like some inception type stuff. So with this one, first thing I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the customer count. I'm trying to figure out which customers, how many customers there are and how many of them have that unique ID on them, because sometimes you'll have those orders, like I stated at the beginning, Shopify has blanks. This one, it had multiple ones. And one thing that I've ran into when I'm trying to do this at the beginning is that it would inflate the numbers because it told it, oh, if even though the ID is on there multiple times, they must have made multiple purchases. So that's where this N unique comes in because it's only counting it once for that customer. So after that, then the repeat comes into play. And with this repeat, all it is just finding out how many times did that person order. The piece at the end, the GE, is just greater than or equal to 2. So I'm trying to find out who made purchases 2 or more. After that, once again, this is where that nested aggregation comes in, where we're trying to group it again by the channels, making sure that the index is not true. And then we're making sure that those customers are, we're trying to find out the sum for each of those right here and break everything down. And this mean is just more so giving us our averages for our orders, our order count. And then once again, the other stuff that's breaking it down for the repeat as well to where we get to this point. So this one, the main reason I put this one in here was just to show how a nested aggregation would work in Pandas when running these type of scenarios, because you want to first make sure you have the right data or the right number or the people that you're targeting. And then you're trying to run another one to determine, okay, what are my averages based on those individuals that I've pulled. And then once again, a cool looking picture that can show you exactly what that would look like, just in case you got those visual learners out there that just want to see what it is. But other than that, I'll save question 4 and question 5 for those who want to go on the GitHub repository and look at it. But other than that, that's pretty much it for this, learning how Python, data, and Pandas work hand in hand like milk and cookies. So main thing to take away from this, if you're trying to pull data, make sure it's clean data. Don't just hurry up and go in there and start trying to do stuff. You may run into issues where if there is something that's an anomaly, look at those rules, figure out what it is. If you come across those situations, whether it's blanks or something that's just like way out there that's not even associated with your data. Also making sure that depending on what you're pulling, make sure it's commensurate to the data you need. It's a very sad life just sitting there cleaning data for days. But other than that, if anybody got any questions, let me know. I'll be still here until the end.
Yeah, so I've got a question. Going to Pandas, okay? So
Yes.
obviously, just by looking at the code, right, we can see one of the big benefits is you don't have to write all the for loops and everything.
No.
Pandas does it for you. I mean, it's going to go the whole data set, right? It just does. What other things does Pandas bring you then as well? I mean, the advantages of using Pandas as opposed to hard coding.
I'd say, yeah, that ability to just have succinct code. I wouldn't want to sit there and like have to code everything out just to get it up and running. And most of the times when I'm using Pandas, it's because I want to get something quick. I need data quick, and then I'm gonna post out the chart just to see what it looks like and shoot that to someone. So the fact that it's fast, once again, it's open source. I'm not paying for Tableau or any of them to get a membership for somebody to do something that I just pressed a button on.
It's been around a long time.
Yes.
So, yeah. Okay, thanks.
Yes. Didi.
How long do you think it took you to get the hang of using Pandas?
I don't know. It's not a very steep learning curve to learn Pandas. It's like very low, but I'd say it's more so just learning all the things it can do. That's when it's like, oh crap, I didn't know Pandas can do this. And then once I started having my cool friend teach me stuff, Claude, I learned even more about Pandas. So yeah, the learning curve is not that steep, but it's just more so I'd say that's when you get creative with the data and figuring out, okay, if I'm trying to get, for example, like how many customers from each of the channels there are, how would I go about doing that? Because at the beginning, when I first used Pandas, I like to go back and look at code I wrote 2 or 3 years ago, and I laugh at myself like, wow, I literally just did like freaking 100 lines that I could have just condensed into 50. So yeah, I'd say once again, it's easy. It's just more so figuring out all the methods and stuff. Other than that, that's pretty much it.
Does anyone else use Pandas?
Yes.
Yeah, I think once you start using it, you got to look at data or the data set slightly different when you use Pandas as opposed to our code.
Yeah, I'm slowly working in a terminal more and more and just leaving the IDEs off to the side. Yeah. But other than that, if nobody else have anything, y'all free to stick around a little while, mingle and whatever. But that's pretty much it for me.
Thank you, Sly.